What is up, YouTube? These are the Horses back at you with a brand new deck profile, and today we have branded Runick. Before we continue, I would like to apologise for not being around often. I personally have been busy with life and schoolwork and everything, so I've not had a chance to properly go into detail with Yu-Gi-Oh right now. But we're at a point now where I've got a bit more free time. When I have some exams coming up, I'm just doing revision for them now. So I'll be making a bit more content recently. And next big step here is Runick branded. First question is, why would I make this? What's the purpose of Runick branded? Well, all the Runick monsters like Huggin, Munin, we'll talk about that later, are fusions. So obviously they synergize with branded already. And the branded engine's really resilient. And it's mostly, all you need is branded fusion for it. I've got some extra stuff in play. And it helps get into a wider range of abilities to help you control the game state. And thus lets you just go further in. Now, the main issue playing this is you don't have a lot of non-engine. But that is an issue you have with most Runick lists, quite frankly. I think, in theory, you could play 4 non-engine in this. But I'll talk about where I've gone with that when we get to it. Without further ado, let's get into this deck profile, shall we? Starting off with the main deck. In terms of the branded stuff, the main portion of this is revolving around the branded fusion. Branded fusion, it's basically, all it does, it's fusion some of the deck. Although you can go Hugin plus Albaz in deck to make Mirror Jade without going through the faff of Loot Rebellion and Albion if you don't have the resources. Alongside that, we need more consistency stuff to do this. So obviously we've got 3 fusion dupes and 3 branded opening. This is for either Albaz on the crackback going second, or mostly Cartesia. Because Cartesia will protect your Hugin from imperms and Veilers when it gets Hugh Fountain. Opening is interesting because it's obviously there for Luba, which I'll put there. But it's also there for Quem. And because it's quick play, it can be in the draw phase, like your Runick stuff, so you could go opening, summon Quem, dump Cartesia, then we go Flashing Fire, summon Hugin, and then you can chain block Hugin, or you can chain block Quem. Very handy. And because we're on Quem, obviously we have some names for it. We got Cartesia, which plays nice with the fusion duplication. We have the 2 Albazes. I'm only on 2. In theory, you could play 1, but I find that I'm often just banishing this off either Brandon and White, which at 2 or later, or we banish it off Albion. So having the second one means the remaining brand fusions can resolve more. And we're also on Spring Antikit. I'll put that. Spring Antikit is interesting. It's there as the extra bit of consistency to go at field and go kit to do this. It's also there because we're on Rindrum, the Striking Dragon, so you can make it via that. But also, what makes kit really handy is if you have to discard, say, a branded in red or branded white off of Hugin or Rebellion, you can summon kit, add them back to hand, and then either want to put them to deck, or simply just keep them there. So it helps you recycle your stuff. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, in red, it's protecting its imperm if you don't have Cartesia. And it's just a powerful card, making stuff like Guardian Chimera or Masquerade, which is very good, and we'll talk about that later. In white, it's Miracle Fusion for the deck, and I find it helps a lot more in a grind game, or if I'm going to go all in and making Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which we'll talk about later. Right, so for the actual, and one more branded card, we're on Retribution. Now this was one of the non-engine slots I decided to fill up with engine. Other than this is obviously sending Albion to grave, I need something to set that isn't in red, and that's very handy. But also putting back used up Allied Fusions to the extra deck's very helpful because I have Mirror Jade. And unlike in regular Despia, there's not as many targets for it this time. So by putting stuff back with Retribution, it does mean that Mirror Jade is has more targets and can help control the game even further. And also banish it, recycle, so in white for more fusion plays. Yeah, that's it for the branded cards. And nearly every single main deck monster. In terms of the spells, we have that banish 1, tip, banish 2, flashing fire, banish 3, freezing curses, and banish for destruction. That's 12. Now 15 is the correct ratio with Runick spells in general, regardless of deck. And normally you go 3 Runick Slumber here. I don't have 3 Runick Slumber, quite frankly. I can't seem to find any anywhere. So until then, the Runick spells I'm obviously plays 1 Smiting Storm, 1 Golden Droplets, and 1 Dispelling. Dispelling is surprisingly helpful as it's a hand rip. So if they go normal summon Snake Eye Ash add Poplar effect, chain Dispelling, and if you hit the Poplar, sure it goes to Spell Trap Zone, but you have stopped the extra summon, which is very handy. And you manage to. These two, you're mostly just using to summon Hugin, or in this case Munin as well, but we'll talk about those ties when we get to the extra deck. But Golden Droplets can be helpful for just quickly making sure that allowing the cards to put them in that situation where they are struggling to find more ways to get Engine. And Smiting Storm's just funny. And of course, 2 Runick Fountain. If it's at 3, we would actually be paying 3 in this list instead of the Retribution. Actually, I think there's 5 non-engine. We'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah, that's it for the Runick stuff. Oh, and in case you didn't know, add a Runick card, banish 1. Pop a special monster, banish 2. Negate a monster effect, banish 3. Pop spell trap, banish 4. Non-engine wise, and we do have 3 Supole. Now, there's also Dark Magician. We'll talk about Dark Magician a bit. We'll talk about there's Dark Magician. I'll put it there, but we won't talk about him to get to Dragoon. Now, if you don't want to play Supole, there are other options. If you want to play a hand trap, you've also got Nibiru. Now, Nibiru, the Primal Being, is a very powerful card in Snake Eye, but it needs to be paired with another hand trap. And I feel if you don't have another hand trap, it's not as good. Alright, what about a board breaker like Talents? Talents is very powerful. I only have 2, but even then, Supole has so much diversity in this deck because obviously fusions are overpowered in this specific list. So making good use of your Hugin plus IP Masquerena or Little Knight to make Sopelia is very powerful. And that is it for main deck. In the extra deck, now in Runick names there should be 3. It should be 2 Hugin and Jerry. I don't have 2 Hugin or a Jerry, so for now we have 1 Hugin, 1 Munin. Hugin, you got Fountain and it's Protection. Depending on the matchup, for example, if it's get aim against, I think it's Danger Darkhold I see a lot, and locals, but for the meta, anything that really targets, like, I'm pretty sure some of the lab stuff turn target, but it's more like Subversion. You can use Munin to quick effect, banish yourself, protect, but it's more there, it's just the extra Runick name that you need. A lot of instances I have done Runick, summon Hugin, Brand Fusion, fuse Hugin plus Albaz and make Mirror Trade. It's very handy to have for that. In terms of the branded stuff, we have 1 Albion, 1 Nubalion, 2 Mirror Jade, which we'll talk about in a minute, and a Rindrum. I'm on double Mirror Jade because often I'm just going normal summon Albaz to fuse or summon it off Rindrum. And then Mirror Jade is honestly the best target there. If you didn't want to play Mirror Jade, you could play Sprint in this spot. But generally I reserve this spot for Jerry. But if you want to play Sprint, you can. I prefer the second Mirror Jade. I find it comes up way more because it's way more impactful. Moving on to the remaining cards. Red Ice Dragoon. I will argue this, and this is a bold opinion, this card is this deck's boss monster. Allow me to explain. Red Ice Dragoon is obviously a powerful monster. I think anyone who disagrees with that is wrong, quite frankly. It is powerful, not meta defining, but it's very powerful. And in this, it's needed, as the Omni Negate stops a evenly matched or Cosmic Cyclones. But it's also there because it burns. And then pairing this with Masquerade, you really limit the amount of cards they can do, making it a very much more controlled game state. Because, surprisingly, drawing 3 off Fountain into more disruptions that they can't really tell about, forces them to play around a lot more effects, and thus meaning they've got to go and use more effects, which means Masquerade burns them more. I have been tempted to play a second Masquerade in this, in all honesty, but I think 1 is enough to help control that game state enough. Ryan Gran and another target for it in Proskenian. I prefer Proskenian because you banish Masquerena off it, or you banish Princess as well. really limits how powerful Snake Eye is. Or even hit Amblewell with this is very strong. And then this is overpowered because you can fuse this, you fuse, say, Hugin plus Cartesia, then you have a Fountain Hands. You'll have Cartesia and Hugin, and we'll say, for context sake, we will have in hand just the Dark Magician. So we fuse these two. So these one, and you go, Runick spell, summon, so we'll grab a Runick spell real quick. So, flashing up. You go, normal summon Cartesia, flashing 5 to summon, Hugin. Hugin, discard Dark Magician, search Fountain. And now we're in a pickle because we don't have a single way to stop. Right? Alright. We then go activate Fountain, Cartesia effect to fuse. So these two together makes Grangoyle. And Grangoyle will send to grave a Garua, and I'll just quickly shuffle. So obviously very accurate because it's over the amount of cards we normally have. I'll quickly just do that this way. We shuffle up and we get Aluba, which you're going to normal summon such Brown Infusion, and you have a Disruption that way. Very powerful engine to have, this specifically. But yeah, and that's why I play those two. I've mentioned Garua, that's because we're on Super Poly, and the other Super Poly targets we have are Mud Dragon, Stapelia. Stapelia is very good because we have obviously a bunch of fusions in the deck. So you use Stapelia, so you use like Hugin plus a Bestial or Hugin plus Drago, and you do it that way. You have Garua and Mud Dragon are very good. It's not as good as people expect it to be in the Snake Eye matchup, but it's still pretty damn good. And this is just very, send off Grangoyle. And obviously the final extra card we have is Chimera. This is pop 2, draw 1 or draw 2, which is very good in this deck. Pop 1. And it's just that extra layer of disruption you would need in this list. And yeah, that is everything. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the shtick. And next time it should be some Despia profiles. So until then, cheerio.